Before we get started, quick disclaimer. This is being recorded on January 30th based on the January 19th guidance. So if you're watching this later down the road, definitely check for some updates. So today I'm talking to those of you out there that are looking to take a first round PPP loan, meaning you didn't get one back in April when they first came out under the CARES Act, but you're now looking to take a first draw under the new Economic Aid Relief Act. So let's start with some of the basics and talk about what the heck a PPP loan even is. So PPP loans are Paycheck Protection Program loans. And they were originally created back in March when COVID first came about, and they were created to help business owners keep their employees employed. So borrowers were allowed to borrow 2.5 months worth of payroll based on their 2019 tax return. And these loans could be 100% forgiven, meaning not needed to be paid back as long as the business owner adhered to a few qualifications and rules. Any part that isn't forgiven or wasn't forgiven would be considered a 1% loan for 5 years. So the ability to get your loan 100% forgiven was based on you spending at least 60% of it on payroll, and the rest had to be spent on qualified expenses. And we'll touch a bit more on those later. So let's talk about who can get a first round PPP draw under the Economic Aid Act. So any business owner with less than 500 employees, including themselves if you're an S Corp or C Corp owner, sole proprietors, single member LLCs, independent contractors, gig workers, anyone who's self-employed can actually get their own PPP loan. Any of my self-employed independent contractors out there, you just have to show a profit on line 31 of your Schedule C from 2019, because that's the number they're going to base your loan amount off of. Partnerships with taxable income and guaranteed payments to partners can qualify. Regardless of your entity type, all businesses who borrow PPP funds must certify that they have been negatively affected by COVID. So next question we want to talk about is, when can you apply? So applications are actually open, you guys. Your bank should be accepting applications. If not, there are some bigger lenders out there that you can check with. And the cutoff is March 31st, or when funds run out. As of today, which is January 30th, they are only $35 billion only, right? But only $35 billion into $280 billion worth of PPP funds. So we're good for now. So next I want to talk about how much you can qualify for. So your PPP loan amount is 2.5 months worth of payroll based on your 2019 or now 2020 tax return if you happen to have it done yet. If you're an S Corp or C Corp owner, this is where pay to yourself is going to be included, because you should be a W-2 employee within your business. If you're a Schedule C business owner, then it's going to be 2.5 months worth of your pay based on line 31 of your Schedule C. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that number, you're going to divide it by 12 months, and then you're going to multiply it by 2.5, and that's going to be the loan amount you qualify for. That number is maxed out at $20,833, which is $100,000 worth of wages or worth of revenue. So there is a cap at $100,000. So if you made more than that, you're still going to be capped at that $20,833 loan amount. A really important addition that came with the Economic Aid Act is if you are a restaurant or any business with a 72 NAICS code, look at your tax return, you'll know what that is, then you can actually borrow up to 3.5 months worth of payroll under the PPP loan. And last but not least, this isn't going to apply to most of you out there, but there is a $2 million loan maximum. Before you apply for a PPP loan, a lot of people are asking, what can I spend the money on? And this is a big area that changed with the Economic Aid Act. Under the CARES Act, you were very limited in what you could spend your PPP funds on. You had to spend 60% on payroll, and the rest could only be spent on very specific expenses. Those included business interest expense, business mortgage interest expense, business rent, and business utilities. The Economic Aid Act opened that up to include a wider range of expenses that qualify now. The new guidance reads that you can spend PPP funds on operating expenditures. So you guys, that's basically everything that it costs to run your business. So what is really only excluded now is the cost for expansion. All right, you can't buy a new building with it. You can't expand your business, but any expenses that you incur to run your business day to day is now covered by those PPP funds. However, it is important that you note that you still have to spend at least that 60% of your loan amount on payroll. You can spend up to 100, but you've got to spend at least 60% on payroll related expenses. Finally, you have a covered period of 24 weeks and you have to spend all of your PPP money within that 24 weeks. The counter on that 24 weeks starts the day you get your money. So finally, let's talk about how you apply for those PPP loans. And we'll break it down into 3 easy steps. Step 1 is find a bank that you can work with that will lend you the money. Applications for the PPP loan have to be approved by the SBA, but they are actually processed through a local bank. I suggest starting with the bank you already have your business banking and business checking account with and see if they are offering PPP loans. If your current bank cannot help you, I suggest reaching out to a local, regional, or smaller bank. They tend to be very quick and very on top of these things and are able to lend to people a lot faster than some of the bigger banks. And if all else fails, you can wait for the big vendors like QuickBooks and Bluevine and PayPal to open up. As of today, January 30th, they weren't open, but it sounds like they're really close. So definitely check on those if your local bank isn't able to help you out. So you found a bank that'll work with you. So step 2 to complete your PPP loan is to fill out your application. The requirements for this are varying slightly from bank to bank, but here is a quick list of the things I know you're gonna need to fill out that application. If you have employees, you are going to need copies of your W-2s that you paid from either 2019 or 2020, depending on which year you're using for your application. For my Schedule C business owners, you're going to need your Schedule C because, again, you need that line 31 figure, which is your net profit and loss, because that's what they're going to base your loan amount off of. If you are in a partnership, you're going to need your partnership tax return from 2019 or 2020. And finally, if you're using more than just your gross pay to get a loan, meaning if you have employees and you're adding on health insurance costs, or state and local taxes paid, you're gonna have to have the statements for those payments. But if you don't have employees, that doesn't apply to you. You're just gonna need that Schedule C. So once you've collected all of those documents, completing your application is gonna look different from bank to bank. Some banks are having you paper file the application directly from the SBA. Others have a great online portal where you're not only able to apply and fill out the application online, but you're also able to submit those support documents into their portal as well. So this is definitely going to be a place where you want to communicate with your bank and make sure you're checking all the boxes, crossing all your T's, dotting all your I's. Step 3 is to make sure you're following up with your lender. All right, so you've submitted your application, you've submitted all the documentation they've requested. Keep an eye on your online portal if you're using that with your bank, or if you have connections to your lender, make sure you're following up with them. Because this process, you guys, should not take very long. Let me give you a quick timeline of how long this has taken a few other borrowers. Bank portal has opened, they filled out their application that day and submitted all their paperwork. Okay, and then the very next day, those banks have said, we have everything, they've approved it. They've done an internal approval of their application. And then once they've sent it to the SBA, it's taking only anywhere from 48 to 72 hours, you guys, for the SBA to turn back an approval to the banks. All right, so if you've been waiting on your bank for longer than that, my guess is it's on the bank. So definitely follow up with them and figure out if there's something you're missing or something you could be providing them or doing better in order to move that process along. Once your loan is approved by the SBA, your bank will send you your loan documents, you'll get them signed, and once they have those loan documents back, you guys, funding can be as fast as the next day. So in the end, yes, you can get a first draw PPP loan under the new Economic Aid Act. And those are the steps that you need to follow to do it. If you guys have any questions about what we talked about today, go ahead and leave a comment below. And then I highly suggest you head on over to our Facebook community, Money, Taxes, and Finance for Small Business, because these topics are what we talk about on a regular basis and have live trainings on every week. You can access that group by clicking the link in the description box. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and while you're loving on me hard, go ahead and hit the notification bell so you never miss a future video.